And we are live.
Oh my God. Hey guys, today we're doing something new, and I apologize in advance. We have a little bit of a technical difficulty. We have a little bit of static, a little bit of snap, crackle, pap is going on when we are recording the podcast, when we're doing the phone call. We're doing a phone call with Eddie Hall today. Eddie Hall is the first man to ever deadlift 500 kilos, 1,101 fucking pounds. I'm really excited to talk to him about that because many, many years ago, Roger Bannister became the first man to run a 4-minute mile. And back then, nobody thought that was possible. Nobody thought that somebody could actually run a 4-minute mile. Well, not only has a lot of people, or have a lot of people, run a 4-minute mile, sub 4-minute mile, since that time, there's been over 20,000 people that have run a sub 4-minute mile, including high school kids. So it's really cool to me to get to the opportunity to talk to some of these people that are the best in the world at what they do. If you have some questions, please submit your questions. We're going to make this podcast, it's going to be a little different than some of the traditional podcasts we've done. It is a phone call. We are calling overseas. And due to financial constraints of Slingshot, we are only going to talk to Eddie Hall for a short period of time. No, we're just going to keep it short and sweet because we're perfectionists over here. We're not satisfied with the little audio disruption that we have. So we're going to try to keep that to a minimum. We also might be able to finish, put some finishing touches on it in post production, but we'll see what we can do. The main thing I'm going to talk to Eddie Hall about today, though, is Eddie Hall is going into this competition that he has coming up with an injury. His competition is April 7th, and he wants to break the all-time world record in the log press, I believe. So the guy that has the 1,100-pound deadlift, the guy that it was his dying wish to become a world's strongest man champion, he has done these things, and he wants to go out with a bang, and he wants to put this huge weight over his head. And then after that, guess what he says? He says that he's done. Can he turn a new chapter in his life? Can he say goodbye to all that strength and power? I'll be the first one to tell him that it's fucking hard. It's really hard. It's really hard to let go of all that power and all that strength. So let's get Eddie Hall on the horn here, and we got a handful of questions for him to start out with. And then you guys, please comment in the comment section there, throw some questions our way. Smoke, also, if you saw any questions coming in through the Instagram post that we made on my Instagram about Eddie Hall, let us know if there's some good ones. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live with the big man, Eddie Hall. Eddie, we might have a little bit of snap, crackle, pop going on. I apologize for that.
So, mate, how you keeping, all right?
Yeah, things are going really good over here. I'm truly honored to have Eddie Hall, the Mountain, on the podcast today. First question is what is it like working on the set of Game of Thrones? How is that working out for you?
I don't know, mate. Well, if you want to speak to the mountain, then you need to call the mountain up, because this is the beast.
Oh, there we go. This is the beast. I'm just fucking around, man, having a good time. Anyway, man, it's been amazing watching your career. It's been outstanding watching all the success that you've had. And what did it mean to you this year to actually become the world's strongest man?
It meant everything, it's something I think I subconsciously wanted from a young boy, watching it on TV, sort of 5-6 years old. And then when I was 19 years old, I made a promise to my nan on a deathbed, actually, that I'd win the world's strongest man. So it meant a hell of a lot to me personally, and also the family as well. So it was completely, just total surrealness, completely overwhelmed when I won it. It was just the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah, it is quite a feat. And what an awesome time to actually capture the world's strongest man, because you got some really, the competition is amazing out there right now. You got Brian Shaw and you got Hafthor Bjornsson, and there's some really strong guys out there. What was something that you really had to work on in order to capture the world's strongest man title?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, no World's Strongest Man title has been easy over the years, but I think it's fair to say it's been easier. In the past, there's been very little competition. There's been one man who's been leaps and bounds ahead, and then the other guys are sort of miles behind. And I think that the last few years, it's been sort of Brian Shaw, Harcourt Johnson, and Sejuna Savickas, and then little Eddie all came along, who was the complete underdog and just came out of nowhere, and I just had to work my balls off. I came into the competition strong from day one. A to B strength was always there. I always sort of matched them guys in static power, and then it's just quickly realised that you can't just be a one-trick pony. You can't just lift weights A to B and expect to be the world's strongest man. So I had to go away, analyse, learn how to pull trucks, learn how to run with weights, which is something that was just unnatural to me. I was just used to lifting weights from A to B, and I just had to just literally go away and just look on YouTube, sort of break down Brian Shaw's techniques, Sejuna's techniques, and just learn off them basically how to beat them. So it was actually the footage of themselves that actually gave me the advantage in the end.
Son of a bitch. That's a good way to go about doing it. Yeah. How were you able to incorporate, like, what types of things did you do to be able to gain so much weight over the years? I mean, you're absolutely enormous. You got yourself to a really I don't know, you're over 400 pounds. And I've been following your career for quite some time. And obviously, we all start out a lot smaller. How did you get yourself to be able to get to this size where you're at an optimal weight to become world's strongest man?
I think in my peak, I hit 433 pounds in body weight.
Damn.
Which, it was stupidly heavy.
How many stones is that?
In English terms, it's just under 32 stones.
32 stones. I love that.
Yeah. It's an average man over in the UK is, I don't know, 11, 12 stone. That's like an average weight. So getting up to 3 times the normal size of a man. To get to that body weight was just a constant battle of force feeding. Disgusting techniques of force feeding, just lumps of fat at sometimes. I'd eat packs of sausages and full English breakfast, litres and litres of ice cream. But the food became very boring to me. It became such a chore. I had to chomp down sort of around 12,000 calories a day.
Oh my God.
It was impossible to do it clean, absolutely impossible. So it came to the stage where I'd eat a meal, and then after every single meal, and this is especially in the last year of leading up to last year's Worlds, after every single meal, I would have a litre of ice cream. So, and we're talking 6 meals a day, and then I'd have 6 litres of ice cream in total as well. So, it wasn't a healthy way of doing it at all, but it was just my way. It was the easiest way I could do it. I never hired a nutritionist. I've never had a coach. I've had no help whatsoever. It's just always been trial and error. And I just found that really high fat foods really work well for me.
Yeah, a lot of people, they always want to try to figure out, how can I be strong and lose weight at the same time, or how can I be lean and be strong? In strongman in particular, you have to be big, right?
Yeah, there's no such thing as strong and lean. I mean, Mariusz Podnotsky sort of weirdly set the standard back in the day, but it's a completely different era. You can't be. If you put Mariusz in today's world of strongman, he wouldn't get anywhere near the top 3-4 guys. That's a fact. And I think that just to get to that sort of size is just absolutely, it's just incomprehensible what the foods we have to eat, and you can't be strong and lean. You've got to be a fat bastard to be the best.
How has your health? How has your health been? During all this, I'm sure there's some minor things that go on, like acid reflux and spending a lot of time on the toilet and things like that. But on a more serious note, how has your overall health been? Like your breathing and just have you had any like scary shit happen? I mean, I remember that one time you passed out, but that's actually pretty common to pass out when you're trying to press weight over your head. Have you had some scares in terms of your health being that big?
I mean, yeah, I think we all do. You know, we've all had some scares. I think the main one for me was just the general health overall. You know, I was having blood tests. I was working with doctors quite regularly. And all the blood tests, every time I did a blood test, it was coming back that my kidney and liver markers were through the roof. My hemoglobins were through the roof. So basically, every time I went to the doctor, it was like, you know, you're literally about, you know, literally an inch off having a heart attack, a stroke. Your kidneys and livers are about to shut down. But, you know, every time I went, I was like, oh, well, you know, I've only got another sort of year in the sport. You know, I'm just going to win it and walk away sort of thing. So I'll just carry on. And I always said I was going to be the guy on top of the podium at World's Strongest Man, or I'd be the man that actually died trying. And the fact is, I nearly did die a few times. You know, there's been some very scary moments. I had to have an ambulance out to my house a couple of times over the last 2 years.
Wow.
Had some really close scares. But it turns out it's all self-induced. You know, I think one time I had an ambulance out and I'd overdosed on potassium massively.
Yeah, and that can really mess with your heart. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. And I was having very severe cramps and spasms, and obviously your heart's a muscle, you know. So my heart went into a spasm, and they came out, did the ECG, and they said, yeah, you know, it looks fucked up, and it shows you've got high potassium levels. And I was like, wow, can you really tell that from an ECG? I'm like, yeah. And it just clicked. It just made sense on the spot, you know. I had a blood test, and my blood nutritionist sort of said, you're very low on potassium. You need to up your potassium. So I went away drinking gallons of coconut water, you know, potassium tablets, extra salts, and I went the other direction.
Right.
I had too much, so, you know, so it's just things like that. You know, you put yourself in these stupid situations because you want to be the best, and you overdo things, you overeat, you overtake supplements, and for me, it's all trial and error. You know, I just know I'm one of them guys that if you tell me something's good for you, I'm like a pig on potato. I'll take it no end then, you know. So I'll go at something 100% or nothing.
Right. Yeah, that is the only way to do it, right? Especially if you want to be a champion, then there's only one way to do it. With you, winning the world's strongest man and having some of these health problems, are you looking to make some changes in the future? Like, what do you have going on next?
I mean, in terms of competing at World's Strongest Man, I'm done. Like, you'll never see me compete at Worlds again. I've signed contracts with the UK. Everyone just
got really sad, by the way, because people love watching you compete.
Sorry.
But we understand it's a huge sacrifice.
Yeah. You know, I've signed up to do commentating. I'm doing acting lessons, which I know, you know, sounds a bit ridiculous, but I'm like everything I do. I'm going to put my heart and soul into it. I've signed with a very reputable TV agent that's got some very famous people, some good work.
Can make a good plus size model, I'll tell you that.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah. I'm sort of working very closely with the Giants Live team now. You know, sort of the aftermath of everything. And in terms of body weight, you know, I'm under 400 pounds at the minute. I was sitting around 28.5 stone. I've got the log lift champs on Saturday, so I'm still in the game. I'm still enjoying competing. I just don't want to be over 400 pounds and competing with the freaks of nature like Brian Shaw and Thor, and you know, just the guys that you have to push your body to beyond what you think's capable to be. I'm not willing to do that again. You know, I've nearly killed myself several times, and I don't want to do it again. I owe it to myself. I owe it to my family.
Right.
I need to walk away whilst I'm still alive.
Yeah, and the promise that you made to your dad, you fulfilled that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You know, and I'm a man of my word. You know, I want to say something, I won't go back on it. And I think very rarely have I said something and not delivered.
Well, I think you have a really good opportunity here because you have a lot of people that are watching you from watching the documentary and watching the different documentaries that you've been in. You have a really good opportunity to show people, hey, you put your heart and soul into something and you dedicate yourself to something. And now, you are moving on to a new chapter in your life, but you're still the same badass motherfucker. You just have different goals.
That's exactly it. I set, when I was 19 years old, I set a goal to become the world's strongest man, and it took me 10 years, pretty much on the dot, to achieve that. And now I've done that. I've set new goals. I don't want to sound pig-headed, but one of my goals is just to get stinking fucking rich. Capitalize on the title of being the world's strongest man, and I'm putting myself in front of the right people. I'm in the right industry now, and that's why I'm going into the acting sort of things. I'd be an idiot to sort of stay in the strongman world, go for a second title, a third title, because in all honesty, there's no money in strongman. I could compete for 10 years,
Yeah,
and I'd still be broke. So I'm doing a sensible thing. I'm walking away healthy, and I'm capitalizing on the title, and I'm setting me, my wife, and the kids up for life. And I think that's a very noble thing to do.
by winning World's Strongest Man, what did you win?
As in what? The prize money?
Yeah.
I mean, the prize money is shit. In US terms, I think it was like $50,000.
Right.
About, which for winning a world title is it's not the best.
Right.
It's what? I mean, I don't know. I know Brian's done well in the US, but in my country, winning the world's strongest man, I've just become a household name. It is ridiculous. I can't leave my house. I can't go to Tesco. I can't go to the supermarket. I can't go anywhere in the country. I'll just get absolutely mobbed by crowds. It's ridiculous.
That's actually really cool. Yeah, it can be a little painful too, I'm sure, but that's pretty amazing. You did 1,100-pound deadlift. You're the first man to do an 1,100-pound deadlift, and Andy Bolton was the first guy to pull 1,000 pounds, in competition. What is it about England that has this kind of strength?
I don't know. It must be something in the Saxon genes.
Yeah, maybe it's in the pints, huh?
I mean, a lot of my techniques actually. At one point I was stuck at around 900-pound deadlift, 920-pound deadlift.
So pathetic.
Yeah, I know. But I was stuck at that for about 2 or 3 years, and then I just realized, like, shit. I'm the strongest man from A to B. I was like, why can't I pull more weight than any other man on the deadlift? And I just took a step back and I evaluated other people's techniques, Andy Bolton being one of them. But one of the guys I actually evaluated the most was Brian Shaw. His technique of pulling a deadlift was just phenomenal. And I just sat and studied. And then I worked out from Bolton's programs, from Brian Shaw's programs, the perfect program. And I just wrote that out myself and just got going, And I think that 500 kilo deadlift was just, it was ridiculous. Everyone thought it was impossible. When I said it to the promoters, they would just laugh the bollocks off.
Yeah.
But I stuck to my guns, and I know it's something I needed to do. I said it, and I had to back it up. That's something I always do. If I say something, I have to back my bullshit up.
Nobody's been even close to that. Like, has anybody even done like 1,060 or anything like that?
I don't think so. I think the closest to it now is Half-Over Johnson. He did 470 at the Arnolds. And I saw someone put a comparison video up of mine and his 470, my 500, and I still pull 500 quite a bit quicker than he pulled 470. So, he's quite a way off. There's quite a few guys capable of doing it. It's whether they go out and get it done.
My favorite lift that I've ever seen you do, it was posted on Instagram. It was kind of around the time that I started to become more aware of you. I was already kind of creeping on you and watching you anyway, but you did an 881-pound deadlift, and I think you just annihilated it. It looked like you were training maybe like in your own basement or something like that. And you ripped the weight off the ground, you hold it at the top, and you just do this like insane laugh. And I was like, I'm a fan of this guy. I'm like, whoever this guy is, I'm behind this guy 100%. That was really cool watching that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think over the time I've had a lot of haters, like everyone in the strongman and the powerlifting scene. Everyone just seems to hate on you and just be negative and say you can't do shit. And when you do these lifts, that's all I'm thinking in my mind is like, fuck you. I can do this. And when you get that lift from A to B and you stand there at the top and you've completed the lift, there's no better feeling than just thinking to yourself, fuck you to those naysayers, the people that said you couldn't do it. And I think the video you're talking about is one of those moments for sure.
If you think about it, you being the first guy to do 1100, probably within the next 4 or 5 years, even though people right now are quite a ways off, there'll be 2, 3, or 4 guys coming in behind you that are probably going to lift 1100 pounds. I mentioned before we got on this podcast live with you that Roger Bannister did the first 4-minute mile. And he did that like in the 70s. And since that time, there's been 20,000 people that have run a sub 4-minute mile, including people in high school. Now, we're not going to see that many people deadlift 1,100 pounds, but I'd imagine that you set a precedent that other people are going to be aiming for.
Yeah, I mean, Bolton did it with the 1,000-pound deadlift. He did it, and people said it was impossible, but he went out and did it. And then within 10 years, there must be 10 guys that pulled 1,000 pound now.
Yeah, I think in this last competition, it was like one guy after another, 4 or 5 guys going back and forth pulling 1,000 pounds. I was freaking out. I was like, "What's going on here at the Arnold Classic?"
Yeah, it's just got that ridiculous stage, and you set the standard, and people will follow. People will then believe it's achievable and follow pursuit. But I mean, the 500. To me, I'm not going to be the guy that's going to say nobody will ever beat that, because I'd be such a hypocrite to say that, because everybody said the 500 was impossible in the first place, but I came along and did it, so it can't be impossible. So there will be men who will lift it in the future. Who they are, where they are, we don't know when it's going to happen. But yes, you're right. It will go down one day. But one thing I will say: who was the second man to run a 4-minute mile?
Right.
Who was the second? And who was the second man on the moon? Who gives a fucking shit?
That's amazing.
We got some questions coming in for you, I think.
Yeah, Eddie. So we have some questions coming in from the live feed, but mainly the first one. You said you wouldn't come back for the money, but what if, say, whether it be Thor, Shaw, somebody were to break the 500 kilo deadlift, fairly recently? Would that be enough motivation to get you to come back?
Oh, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to. But in all honesty, I don't think I could. To get myself to that stage it just took over my life, and I've got so much going on at the minute. I'm so busy with all these appearances and traveling the world, and obviously getting into the acting side of things. And I don't know. I just have to, someone will have to come and pull 501, and I couldn't answer that until it happens, But yeah, I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you're gonna be itching if you see someone do that right in front of your face.
Yeah, it will. Yeah, it will be like being kicked in the bollocks with a big heavy beat.
What has been the biggest challenge for you? I think you mentioned a little earlier, kind of running with weights, and has there been, has the conditioning side of things been hard, and has there been some sort of weird training that you had to do that maybe the rest of us aren't thinking about? Have you had to run sprints or get on an elliptical or something weird? Have you had to do some sort of weird unconventional training to bring up your conditioning?
No, I think but that was the hardest bit. I think was staying fit with the weight. I mean, Brian Shaw and Thor, they're about 420, 440 pounds, and they're Luke as dense as me, if that makes sense. I was definitely the most cepheric out of all the three.
Yeah, I saw in the documentary, probably the coolest thing is just seeing you walk through the airport, and the waddle that you have going on is just unbelievable. Like your legs are so big and your shoulders are so wide, you're walking from side to side with that extreme powerlifting strongman waddle going on.
Yeah, and it's not a comfortable waddle, I tell you.
You got to swing. You got to swing the arms quite a bit to get momentum.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so the hardest thing was keeping fit, and on top of everything, you know, all the weight training and the eating and the sleeping and the physio, it just seemed, every time I went to do my cardio, it just dawned on me. I just wanted to stay in bed or just stay at home and have another liter of ice cream. That was the hardest thing for me, was to get up, you know, 2 or 3 times a week and go and do cardio. But I made it as interesting as I could. You know, I did what they call caveman training. So it'd be like, I'd swap it around every week. It'd be like flipping tires, hitting tire with a sledgehammer, sort of miniature sprints. We'd do, you know, sprinting with farmers, sprinting with yoke, battle ropes. And then on the flip side, swimming. I did swimming at least once a week. I'd do an hour swimming once a week, but I had to do it in a way to keep it interesting. So, you know, I'd do 2 lengths as fast as I could, and then have a minute's rest. 2 lengths as fast as I could, a minute's rest. And I'd do that for an hour. But that way, it wasn't like a prolonged, boring sort of session. It was like, I enjoyed it, because every 2 lengths I'd try and beat the time. You know, I'd be doing 50 meters in around 36, 37 seconds. And it was interesting for me to, every time I'd set off, like, right, I'm going to do it 36 now. Next one, 35. I just had to find ways to make it interesting. You know, sort of like, you know, having a fishing line in front of you, dangling a Mars bar or something. I had to do those sort of things. Make it interesting for myself. It was tough.
You started out in swimming, right?
Yeah, I was a national champion swimmer when I was a teenager. So I was the best in the country. I was on the what they call the Olympic youth squad.
Right.
And government funded. I was basically a professional athlete at 12, 13 years old. I was a swimmer.
Wow. You don't really have a swimmer's body, at least not now.
Not anymore. I can still swim though. And I tell you what, I jumped in the pool this morning and did my swimming, and there's guys in there with swimming caps on, the full shark suits, fins, paddles, speedo goggles. I just jump in and I fucking fly past them. I'm still fast at it. That's what it was.
Yeah, they're probably looking at you like, what the fuck's going on here?
Yeah.
What's been your biggest hurdle? What's been the biggest thing you've had to overcome in life or in strongman?
I mean, the biggest hurdle, it's a good question. I suppose was the stress of everything, you know. Coming into the World's Strongest Man 2017, geez, my cortisone levels must have been through the roof. And I think the same goes for Brian Shaw and Thor as well. You know, I think 5 weeks before the Worlds, this is when Thor developed the Bell's palsy. There was so much stress on those guys, you know, and everybody, you know, we all had our own fans. You know, everyone's saying I'm going to win it. Everyone's saying Thor's going to win it. Everyone's saying Brian's going to win it. And there was so much pressure on us 3 guys, and I think that was fucking hard. You know, just to keep going training, to keep eating, to keep plodding forward. Because you get home at the end of the night and you sit down at sort of, you know, 10:30, 11 o'clock, and you just collapse, and you're just like,
yeah. How are you able to manage all that while still being a family man?
I didn't. I think I sacrificed being a family man. It was tough. I saw my wife and kids for an hour, 2 hours a week. You know, it was relentless. But looking back now, it was worth it, because I can live a much more sort of improved family life, not just for myself, but for my family, because I've improved the quality of life for us all by what I've done. So, yes, I'll be honest, I miss my kids growing up. I mean, my lad's 5 now. But I'm going to make sure I make up for it for the rest of his life via what I've done.
I think
that's a fair thing to say.
I think people think that you have to be like, being a parent is a really long-term thing. You know, I think people don't truly understand that. You hear stories all the time of, you know, dad not being around for 14 or 15 years, and then he comes back into the kid's life. And ultimately, most kids will accept the parent, even when the parent's like, hey, man, I wasn't around. I'm sorry, but I want to be part of your life now. And you see it often. You know, you have a long time to to kind of build that track record. When I was a kid, my dad is my hero, and he's somebody I look up to, even though he's only 5'2". He's he worked a lot when I was a kid, and when I was 13, 14, he wasn't around a lot. My mom actually was the one to kind of point out to him, like, hey, like, you are making a lot of money at IBM and things are going really well for you career wise, but like family wise, like this isn't great. This isn't what we decided we were going to do. And then from there he was around a lot more, and I always appreciated that. And so I think the time that you were gone, you're right, you're setting your family up for something much better. I feel like I've done the same. I think many people that are between the ages of 25 and 35 or so, they have to work hard, they have to hustle, be away from their significant other and be away from their kids a lot more than they want to be.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I feel exactly the same about my dad. Honestly, my dad wasn't around. My mum and dad are still together, but my dad wasn't around until I sort of left high school. It was he was getting into late 40s, sort of early 50s, and he's worked his whole life in a factory. Worked his bollocks off, and it was all for us. He's got also I'm the youngest of 3 brothers, so and he had to have a good income to support us and give us a nice house and clothes on our back and food, and I commend him for that. But
yeah, I didn't realize that when I was a kid. I was kind of resentful that he wasn't around. I was like, where the fuck is he? But then I was like, oh, we live in this fucking nice house, and I got a weight room in our garage, and we have a pool, and we had a lot of nice things. So it took me until I got older to really appreciate. I was like, oh, that's why he's fucking gone so much. He was working his ass off.
Yeah, we're on the same page. I totally agree, and I learned a lot from my dad from that, and I'm sort of replicating it now to my son. But I've managed to sort of hit the nail on the head a lot earlier. He's 5 now. I'm going to make sure I get involved a lot more. And I've got a 10-year-old daughter as well. So I'm spending a lot more time with. Since I won the Worlds, it's a different life. Completely different life.
Are the kids, are they showing any interest in strongman or powerlifting or anything like that?
The daughter, not so much. But, Max is 5. He loves watching me in the arena shows.
That's
He loves watching on TV. I've been trying to get him to do bits, but he's more interested in sort of Pokemon and Sonic, sort of anything electronical. But I think give it another year or two. I reckon he'll come to grips. I reckon he'll want to get into it. He'll realise what I've done with my career, what I've done for the family, and I think he'll realise that he's got good genetics, and he should definitely get involved. Do
they understand who you are at all? Either one of your kids?
Yeah, my daughter does. My daughter gets it. She's very sort of boastful. Everyone will meet this.
Oh, that's cool.
I have to make it very clear. Little lad's not really that bothered. It's the norm. It's the normal thing. He doesn't know any different. He doesn't see me as a celebrity. He just sees me as his dad. He doesn't see me as anybody different.
That's great. You have any idea what you'd be able to deadlift in terms of powerlifting rules?
I couldn't give you a definite answer, but I think I could do 1,000 pounds on deadlifting rules with some good training. I have to get my grip up.
Right.
I reckon I could put 1,000. Yeah.
Have you ever done a powerlifting meet before?
I did do. Some years ago. I think it was back in 2015, maybe before that. It was just I turned up for a powerlifting competition in Germany, the Devil's Hill, I think something called like that. And I turned up and I forgot my squat shoes, so I didn't do the squat. I just did bench the bench and the deadlift. I did a 280 bench raw and a 420 deadlift raw. And then I still won the whole comp, even though I didn't do the squat.
You have a pretty big bench. What's the most amount of weight you've ever benched?
I've done a 300 kilo bench raw.
Shit, that's 661 pounds, ladies and gentlemen. That's crazy.
Yeah, I've never gone above that. But I can do. Because obviously the strongman bench isn't like a thing, so I just used it as a transfer over to overhead. I think the best set I've ever done is 265 kilo for 6 reps.
Wow.
They were paused. You know, that was, as far as I'm aware, I haven't seen anyone sort of replicate that sort of weight for those sort of reps.
Yeah, the only person I know that can do that would be Bill Kazmaier. You know, Bill Kazmaier benched. He had the world record in the bench press back when he competed.
Yeah, Eddie, is that a record you might be pursuing someday? The world record raw bench press?
It isn't. It isn't. I mean, I massively respect the powerlifting industry. It just doesn't do anything for me in my world. You know, I've done so well off the back of strongman, and I really feel for the powerlifters because they don't get the recognition they deserve.
That's right. Damn it. Yeah, powerlifting is kind of
the money's not there in the sport as it should be. And I think the biggest thing in this country, in the UK, is you've got to have the TV behind you to get noticed, to get the sponsors on board, and that's why the strongman does so well in the UK. It's televised, you know, on primetime TV over Christmas, and we get very good sort of news feeds. You know, we get lots of media about us all the time, and it just does really well. Whereas the powerlifting doesn't get anything. It's just social media, you know, Facebook, and that's why it'll never. Well, I wouldn't say never, but at the minute, it's not seen as a thing to do in the UK at all.
Strongman's gaining a lot of popularity because of guys like yourself, Brian Shaw and Hafthor Bjornsson. The documentary that was done on you, I think, was huge. The more recent documentary that they did, I think, was called Born Strong. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think that was a really good piece as well. Do you have any aspirations of trying to do more stuff for strongman to make strongman more popular and make strongman better?
Yeah, 100%. I'm working with Giants Live to get some sort of global sort of recognition site set up pretty soon. And, you know, obviously the Giants Live we're looking to expand. We're looking to get into the other countries. And there will be, it's obviously like every sport, you know, like the CrossFit Games. I think strongman will be as big, if not bigger, than the CrossFit Games.
Oh, wow. What do you think would have to be the biggest changes for that to happen? If any.
It needs the right people. It needs the right people, the right investors. You know, it's got to be. It just needs some good brains to come together and make all this work. Big TV's got to be behind it as well. Sort of, you know, the terrestrial channels, the Netflix sort of things, the subscriptions things have got to pick up. It's just time. You know, it will grow. I'm sure a lot of sports will in that sort of era and side of things. But it just needs a lot of effort from everybody, really, for the strongman to get as big as that.
Is there too much red tape around the World's Strongest Man itself? I've heard a lot of athletes over the years kind of complain and about the particular World's Strongest Man. Is there too much red tape? Is it too big of a company that has a stranglehold on that for that to really grow? Or do you think that has potential to grow too?
Yeah, of course it has potential to grow, but yeah, it is strangled at the minute. You know, it's limited to IMG, I think, believe own it.
Right.
You know, they just sell it to countries as a TV show. You know, they'll make a show, they'll cut it, edit it, and then dub it for each country and just sell it off. And you know, they probably make a good, I'd say tens of millions off the back of one show of World's Strongest Man. But it could be so much bigger. You know, I mean, the arena shows, everybody always moans, why isn't it live? Why isn't it in the arenas? It'd be impossible, and it'd be boring as fuck to do that for strongman. But there is scope there to do sort of a live feed, 100%. And, you know, I think that's where the money is. Like the AJ's just had a fight, you know, with Parker in the UK.
Yeah.
And the live stream of that was you know, it was ridiculous money. Absolutely ridiculous. Hundreds of millions of people subscribe to watch that fight, and that's where strongman needs to be.
That makes sense.
Who do you think is who do you think is going to win this year's World's Strongest Man?
That's a tough question. You know, I couldn't hand on heart answer that because, as you guys know, anything can happen in strongman.
Right.
I really want I really want Brian Shaw to come and take his 5th title. I really feel as though he deserves it. He's the most professional athlete I've ever met. He's the man with the most heart. But then you've got Harthorpe Johnson, who looked good at the Arnolds. But, I mean, it's tough to gauge. I mean, looking at the events at the final of World's Strongest Man, it really is tough to call it. But I think my heart is saying Brian Shaw, and my head is saying Brian Shaw. So I just hope he pulls it off. I really do.
Who's next? Who's next in line to kind of get that throne? After Thor and Brian, clear out a little bit. Like, who do you think is, or do you think Thor will reign supreme? Because he's still pretty young.
In my opinion, if Thor wins the World's Strongest Man, I think he's gone. I think he'll be tight. I think he's going to end up going into the WWE or along those lines. He'll go where the money goes. I'm certain of that. He's not interested in 6 gold trophies like Brian is.
Right.
In terms of who's next, I mean, we've got some fantastic athletes. We've got Janashio, we've got Martin Glissis, Belsac, with JF Karan, Matthias Kaliskowski. I tell you what, if he gets his deadlift up, he is the man. He is on fire, man. He really impressed me at last year's World's Strongest Man, and he's just he didn't place that well at the Arnold's, just gone. Where did he come, 5th or 6th or something like that? But he's just phenomenal. The performance he puts in, and he's got balls. He's willing to go all out, and he's willing to hurt himself, and he's willing to push the boundaries. So he's one to watch for sure.
I really miss some of those old World's Strongest Man where they weren't really truly World's Strongest Man athletes yet. They were professional football players and professional wrestlers, and power lifters like Don Reinhold jumped in there, and they had like Franco Colombo and Ken Patera. Did you grow up watching some of that stuff? How'd you get into strongman? Were you influenced by any of those old shows?
I remember watching strongman as a kid and watching the likes of like Sven Carlson, and then as we got on, it was like we got into the Sojourner Sidnicus, the Marius Podnotskis, and obviously Jeff Capes. Watching all the sort of flashbacks of Jeff Capes winning the World's Strongest Man, Jamie Reed, Gary Taylor. That's where it captivated me. 3 English guys who actually won this title. And I just, in the back of my head, from the age like 5 or 6, I was like, I want to win that. I want to win
cool.
the Strongest Man. I think that's where it came from for me.
Did you ever have a moment where you, were lifting with some people and you just realized you were way different?
What, like in my home gym when I was younger?
Yeah, just when you were young, going to a local gym or something, and I don't know, your buddies pick up 200 pounds and you pick up like 600. Like, was there ever like some sort of weird realization, like, wow, I'm kind of different than everybody, or was it all just stuff that you had to really truly work for?
It was stuff I really had to truly work for. The first time I ever walked into a gym, I was about 15 years old, and if I remember rightly, I benched 140 kilo as a sort of, just my first ever max bench at 15 years old, which is, I don't know, that in pounds, like 350 pounds maybe.
That's a lot.
And I just realised from day one, but that was because I was, sort of an Olympic standard swimmer. I had such a strong body. I had a massive head start over everybody else. At sort of 16 years old, I was 105 kilo when I was 16 years old, and I was shredded. I had no body fat at all. So, I just had a huge head start, and lifting weights was just so easy because I was so thick. I had huge lungs, huge heart, and lifting weights was just so easy. It just grew so quick. And I put 6 kilo on every single year since I started weightlifting.
Oh, wow.
So, every single year I put 6 kilo on, and it was just so natural. It just felt so easy to do that.
Do you have a desire to get lean again?
Yeah, I do actually. I think I'm actually doing some sort of TV shows in the UK, some series that'll. I think one of the things is we want to do is me sort of do a transformation from beast to beauty.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, yeah, so it's on the cards. It's just when it's going to happen.
So there'll be some beautiful Eddie Hall selfies coming our way on Instagram soon.
Yeah, we're going to have Terry Hollands too.
You're doing this log press just in a couple days, right?
Yeah, on Saturday actually.
And then that's it. Like that's the last time you're going to compete, kind of in that setting. Is that correct?
Never say never, but you know, I've got my eyes on Britain's Strongest Man next year in January. Obviously, I want to try and sort of stay in the Giants live shows, the arena shows. I enjoy them, you know, and it's easy for me to train for. You know, I'm not pushing the boundaries. I'm not stressing about beating Brian or Strunas or Four. I'm just having fun. And this Saturday, you know, I'm going for the world record log press, which is no easy feat. And, you know, training's not been the best. I managed to snap my ankle a couple of weeks back.
Oh, shit.
But I'm feeling good. And, you know, I always seem to pull something out the bag. So I'm just looking forward to getting stuck in and see what I can put above my head at last.
Yeah, our friend Gita Larson, who's one of your biggest fans over here in the States, she wants to know how your ankle's doing, by the way.
I'm walking on it. I can put weight on it. I can just about do a little bit of a push press now. But that's about it. You know, if you ask me to sort of sidestep it, it'd probably snap out again. So I've got to have it heavily taped so it can't move. But other than that, I can walk, I can press. So it will heal. It'll take about 3 months, the doctor said, but it will heal, fully heal. No surgery, thank God.
In your training, have you ever done any sort of bodybuilding? Like, has that ever been part of your routine just to help build up, you know, size in your legs or arms or anything like that?
When I initially started going to the gym, it was all bodybuilding. You know, it was all sort of, everything was just to get big, just to look good. And then over the years, I just sort of added strongman training in at the end of the sessions. So predominantly, I'd still train as a bodybuilder now, to be fair. I just train for, you know, I do my basic sort of training. I do my squats, my bench, my deadlifts, my lat pull downs, side raises, and at the end of the session, I do my strongman events. So I still do, but I do train as a bodybuilder. I just train as a strongman at the end of each session.
What role has your wife played in all this? How has she been helpful in your quest to become world's strongest man? Does she work out with you? Does she help prepare meals or anything like that?
Yeah, I would not have won the world's strongest man if I hadn't met my wife, and that's the truth. You know, my wife did everything for me. The stuff that needed doing, you know, looking after the house, looking after the kids, you know, stuff that taking them to school, picking them up, doing all the night feeding, and it's stuff I couldn't have done if I had to do all that. It'd have ruined me. Prepping food, prepping my lunch, prepping my tea,
wiping your ass.
Yeah, now and again.
You get to be that big, things get complicated back there.
And that's what everyone on the live feed's asking. They're asking for a poop story.
Oh yeah, you got any good poop stories? You ever blowing out big time doing a heavy squat or deadlift or picking up some of these heavy objects?
Oh God, I've got thousands.
That'll be a whole nother podcast.
Yeah. The best one I ever did was, I think it was Britain's Strongest Man 2012, and I had the shits for about 3 weeks. And I came into the competition, I said to the promoters, I was like, Luke, I've had the shits for 3 weeks, I'm still going to try and compete, but just be warned, like, it's not going to end pretty.
Oh.
And the first event was the yoke, and I picked this yoke up, took about 3 steps, and I just put it down and walked off, and everyone's like, Eddie, you're right. I was like, yeah, I'm cool. Got back into the changing room, pulled my neoprene shorts down, and it was like somebody had fucking melted about 20 chocolate eggs in my fucking. It was.
Yeah, good thing you had neoprene shorts on, right? Seal everything in.
Yeah.
Probably went all the way up your back and everything.
I had to have a shower. There's no point wiping. I had to have a shower.
Ah, those neoprene shorts need to be in a Hall of Fame somewhere. They need to be framed.
Yeah, probably some little old cleaning lady's got them.
Oh my God, that's brutal. How does your wife deal with you being famous? That's probably kind of hard on her sometimes, huh?
Yeah, obviously it's not what the thing is with me. It's not like I've just released a movie and got famous overnight. It's been a very gradual thing because I've been winning. You know, I won UK Strongest Man when I was 23 years old, and I've won it every year since. You know, so I've been in the eye since I was 23, and it's just gradually got more and more and more. Every year, I've gained followers, and you know, fame. So it's been a very gradual thing. It's not like it's sprung on us overnight, and I think that's a blessing in a way because it's given me a chance to sort of acclimatize to all the hassle and people coming out asking for pictures, people coming and knocking on my fucking house, asking for pictures and autographs and stuff. And my wife's the same. She just takes it in a stride. You know, it's like, oh, cool. Whatever. You know, it is what it is. It's part and parcel of doing what I do. And
right.
We just come together. We get on with it. Yeah.
Any other questions over there, Andrew?
No, just the Bearded Woodsman wanted to say thank you, Eddie and Mark. It's his birthday today, and this was the awesome birthday gift.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But no, other than that, everyone's just excited to have you on right now, Eddie.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Do you got anything to plug? Website? You got T-shirts to sell? Books? Anything like that?
Just check out my website. I've got a bit of merchandise on there. EddieHallStrongman.com. But yeah, I don't really sell much.
Where can people find you?
Facebook, Eddie Hall the Beast on Facebook, and Eddie Hall WSM on Instagram. That's about it. Yeah.
It's been an absolute honor to have you on the show, and I can't wait to get you over here to Super Training at some point, and you can show us what a bunch of bitches we all are over here in the United States.
Look forward to it myself. Thanks a lot, Mark.
Yeah, thanks again. Appreciate it. Take care.
Take care, man. See you later.
You want to keep this party rolling?
Yeah, keep it rolling.
All right. Well, that didn't suck.
No, it was fucking great. You know, guys, again, sorry about the snap, crackle, and pop going on in there. We just, this is the first time we've done a live feed like that. And as we're trying to push the envelope and provide more great content for you guys in many different ways, we're going to occasionally run into some hurdles. But as always, we're going to fucking bash through those hurdles together, and we're going to get through it all. Fucking unbelievable. That was a really cool story. How cool was it that, you know, he said he told his dad on his deathbed that he was going to win World's Strongest Man.
Dude. Yeah.
I was like, holy fuck.
I was really taken back when he was talking about, like, I couldn't be a family man. Like, that's the sacrifice that it took. And
yeah.
And then for him to say it was worth it. You know, like, you hear, like, NFL players that make millions of dollars. Like, if I can go back, I would say no, and I would take it all away. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm so messed up in the head now. He was like, no. Like, it was totally worth it. Yeah,
and well, for him, you know, and sometimes with NFL players too, but he's still only like 30 years old.
Yeah.
You know, he's still I mean, he looks like he's 100. Because of the beard and the burliness and stuff. But, you know, he's still relatively young. I think he's, you know, in his low 30s, if that. And, I think that, as I was mentioning, like, you're not a parent in a day, you know, and parents, there's no perfect parent. You know, you don't get an instruction book when you get kids, and even if you did get an instruction book, half of it would be wrong because there's no real right way to do it in the first place. And it's just good that he's mindful. Being conscious is the key to anything. We talk a lot about diet. We talk a lot about training. People talk a lot about overtraining. People talk about undertraining. People talk about sleeping too little. People talk about sleeping too much. People talk about eating too much, eating too little. I mean, the list of shit goes on and on forever. But being mindful is the most important thing. Are you the greatest dad on the planet? Well, maybe you're not, but if you recognize that, maybe there's some things you can do about it.
Yeah.
Maybe you can kind of switch gears and try some different things. I think it's a good story, you know, about him just doing any and everything that he can to, you know, become World's Strongest Man. And then he was actually able to fulfill that. A lot of times that doesn't happen. For me in powerlifting, I had goals of hitting certain weights and certain lifts and stuff. But unfortunately in powerlifting, we don't really have a Super Bowl. You know, we don't really
Yeah.
have anything that's like, there's not like this one place to meet up to try to kick each other's ass. And so, um, I did have a goal to be the best, but it was like you could be the best in this like one federation or this one league in this, you know, under these particular circumstances. And for him to have such a precise goal and to be able to fulfill it, it's got to feel really fucking good.
Yeah.
What a fucking savage.
Yeah.
He said the first time he walked into a gym, he benched like 350.
Jeez.
I mean, you know, growing up, I was pretty strong, but I also started lifting a lot younger than he did. But I think, you know, what I can recall benching was around like maybe around 75 or 95 pounds, but I was like 12 or something like that. But my friends couldn't really bench the bar hardly. They were too uncoordinated to really try to figure it out. But it wasn't too long after that I was benching like 135 and 185 and things like that. But being the first guy to deadlift 1,000 pounds, I know that he, you know, went after that with everything he had.
Yeah.
He talked about, you know, passing out and having like high blood pressure and just, it sounds crazy, but I think we're all guilty of doing things like that to some degree. You're thinking to yourself, well, why the fuck would anybody do that? Well, it wouldn't be any different than your doctor saying, hey, you know what? You really need to change your diet. You have high blood pressure, and then you still are rolling through McDonald's. It's like, it's just habit. Like, it's just a thing that you are still doing. And in his case, you know, he had a goal, and he was too fixated on that goal. You can become addicted to things that are good, and you can become addicted to things that are bad. But in any case, when you get too addicted or too one way towards anything, you lose balance. And when you lose balance is when you get yourself into some trouble.
What if you love it though?
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
like I love what I do here, and sometimes I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go to bed. But
Yeah.
same thing with him. Like if you told him like, oh, it was probably not the healthiest thing for you to go for that, you know, that 1,000-pound deadlift, he'd be like, well, fuck it, I love it though.
I think people just need to make sure that they love it, you know, because I think it's easy for now. It's easy to say that you love it. When we're on our deathbeds, we won't love it. We won't love anything other than like taking that next fucking breath.
Yeah.
You know, that'd be the only thing that really truly matters to us. And I'm going to be on my deathbed and say, oh, I wish I didn't take all that shit, or I wish I would have took care of myself. Like, you're just going to be regretful about everything. You know, people kind of say they have no regrets. It's like, well, they haven't met the Grim Reaper quite yet. Haven't been face to face with death. And I think we'll all have some regrets as we, you know, unfortunately, we're all kind of heading in that direction. And I know, you know, from knowing people that have gotten really sick before, they're like, yeah, you know, I wish I did this or wish I did that. It's not so much about, you know, wishing that you like asked a certain girl on a date, or it's not anything like that. It's always more just health related, you know, and ultimately everyone's going to care about their health, and ultimately everyone's going to care about their strength, because if you're not strong enough to get out of bed, you're not strong enough to move, then you're going to die shortly thereafter, because you're not moving around much.
Yep.
But you know, I've been kind of chasing after Eddie Hall a little bit for a while. I mean, I really appreciate him taking the time to be on the show today. I've been talking to him for a long time about having him come to Super Training, and we will get that situated at some point. I think it's cool that he's, you know, putting World's Strongest Man in his back pocket, in his rearview mirror, and he's taking that title and running with it. I think that's a smart move, because I do think that he needs to move on to other things, and I think he's kind of outmatched in a way. You know, he's got Hafthor Bjornsson and Brian Shaw. These guys are 6'8". They're designed to be these huge people, and maybe Eddie Hall is not designed to walk around at over 400 pounds for very long.
Yeah.
You know, and so he's got to make some decisions. I think you know, none of them are probably designed to be that big, but at least the other guys are taller.
Yeah.
You know, they're 6-7 inches taller.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It was cool of him to also talk about like his relationship with Shaw, you know, and then kind of say like, yeah, my heart's with him, but you never know, you know.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool for him just to be open, you know, because sometimes
be
you
a
don't.
battle.
Yeah, sometimes you know when you're out on the outside looking in, you don't want to side with this side or that side because you know anything could happen. But for him just to be like, my heart's with Shaw, I'm like, dude, that's fucking cool.
I know Brian has mentioned he, you know, when I've talked to him before, we've discussed, you know, things that make World's Strongest Man more popular, and we talked about just using a little bit less weight on stuff. I can't remember what the weight was on the yoke this year, but it was like 1,100 or 1,400 pounds. It was something just insane, and they don't move it very far. And obviously, they don't move it very far because it's a fucking shit ton of weight, right? But it might look more dynamic, or it might look cooler if they were able to move it further. If they just had less weight, they might be able to move it further, and it might have a more appealing look to it. What that would also do, if the weights were lighter, and I know some of the purists of World's Strongest Man are like, fuck no. What it will do is it'll reshape the athlete. The athlete doesn't have to weigh 440 pounds. And I think, you know, Brian's legacy, especially with Brian, I know for a fact, I mean, he mentioned that's his main goal is to make the sport better than when he came into it. He wants that's what he wants his legacy to be, to make the sport better. And you see some of these guys that are on here are fairly fit. Some of these guys are in pretty good shape. They don't have big stomachs. They don't weigh 400 pounds. How cool would it be if more of the athletes had a choice to be that way, rather than being these guys they're at a huge disadvantage by not being as big. And you can see, you know, again, they're carrying it just a few feet, and guys are blowing off their biceps, and all kinds of things are happening to them as we're watching it, some of the video footage of it. But I think it's definitely something to look into. Just having the weights be a little bit lighter, it would give us a slightly different looking athlete. And obviously, we don't want them to be pussies. We want them lifting some crazy weights. We want to see them doing extraordinary things and pushing to the limits. But again, if they just took the weights a little further, they walked with them a little bit more, I think
just look more jacked overall.
Yeah, to give us an opportunity. I mean, Brian Shaw, like one of the guys that he trains with all the time, is like 5 or 6% body fat, but he's 240 pounds, and at 240 pounds, the guy's way too small for strongman. You know, which sounds kind of crazy, is that he's too small. And I do think it is a sport for giants. I don't think there has to be weight classes. I actually think that that's a fundamental problem with powerlifting, is that there's too many all the weight classes, and 1,565 pounds. Wow. All the weight classes, I think, kind of fuck everything up. Like, people don't want to see small people lifting heavy weight for small people. People want to see big people lifting the most amount of weight possible, is truly what people are going to admire. And some people do like to see the guy who's, you know, 165 pounds, you know, bench, you know, 400 or whatever. Those are amazing feats of strength, but it's not the same as watching a guy who's 330 bench 700. It's way different.
No, nobody wants to watch somebody like me try to lift anything.
No, nobody wants to watch you do anything.
No, that's why you can tell by my Instagram views for like what I posted.
That's why we don't have one camera. We do have one camera facing your way.
One's on me, but I hardly ever use it. Yeah,
it's kind of dark over there.
That's why I haven't used it.
You should be like Dr. Claw. Like, you should just like have, like, you should never see your face.
Just cover. What was that? Shit. What's that?
Inspector Gadget. That was Dr. Claw and Inspector Gadget.
Yeah. No, with Tim Allen, where his neighbor, you just see his nose or whatever.
Yeah. Looking over the fence.
I'll just have it over the computer screen. You just see my glasses that are just glaring.
This podcast is really dying. You know, each day just keeps getting worse. I mean, we started out the week with Margot Alvarez.
Yeah.
Her podcast was terrible. She's a shitty athlete, way out of shape. Not any good at CrossFit. She's not strong. She didn't deadlift 410 pounds here at Super Training. And then today was awful. Eddie Hall, World's Strongest Man champion, and the first guy to deadlift 500 kilos. And tomorrow it gets worse.
So much worse.
Tomorrow it gets worse.
Well, and then Monday was pretty awful too. We had the co-founder of Quest Nutrition, Ron Penna.
Yeah, that guy was terrible.
I mean, that guy...
He built $1 billion company. That's so shitty. Like, who cares about money like that?
Everybody's heard his story. He's been everywhere, right?
Yeah,
he's literally been on everyone's podcast.
He's been just fishing around and bouncing from one podcast to another. and it just keeps getting worse. And tomorrow, it couldn't get any worse. We're talking to the vertical diet man himself, Mr. Eggplant, Stan the Rhino Efforting. You know, Stan, every time I text him something, he always, every single time, texts me something sexual. So I think there's some like sexual tension that needs to be worked out between him and I, maybe before or after the podcast.
A lot of people would pay for that.
Yeah, I don't know. Pay for what?
To have that sexual tension with the rhino.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know, the last white rhino died.
Oh.
The last
That's right.
white rhino on the planet is fucking gone.
Damn.
We'll have to talk to him about that.
See if he feels like he's in danger.
Yeah, he might be.
All right.
But yeah, we'll have Stan on here tomorrow. Get your questions ready. I think we're going to try to go around 11 o'clock. As always, give us a couple of minutes, give or take. We are powerproject.live. That's correct, right?
Yep.
Powerproject.live. Always go there. Tell your friends, tell your buddies, and let people know what's up. Tell people to start watching this fucking podcast. We're on iTunes. We're on Google Play,
Stitcher, the YouTubes, pretty much anywhere you can get a podcast, we're on there.
We're on your mom's Facebook, too.
We're all over your mom's Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never a strength. Bye.